Hey garden friends, we are going to do the Rose Cottage garden tour for the first week of July 2024 and see what all is in bloom, what's changed from last week. You know what? These week to week videos really show me how fast the garden changes and what it really means about succession planting, because it does. It changes from week to week. And if I did these once a month, there would be things you would miss. And I would miss. I am using this as a journal so that I can look back on it this winter, and then I can really plot and plan some changes I may want to make or some arrangements, etc. So, and it shows me. Now, I just wanted to say too, that you will see a lot of garden plans that you could buy that certain things are supposed to bloom at the same time. Like I'll see a lot of garden videos from Britain, and it shows alliums blooming with the roses. My alliums are done a couple weeks before my roses bloom. So where you're at, hummingbird, can determine that. So don't be disappointed if you decide to plant certain things together that you thought were going to bloom at the same time and they don't. That just has to do with your local gardening conditions. It doesn't have to do with your zone. All of that. A lot of people put so much emphasis on zone that they don't realize that your conditions, whether you have humid climate, arid climate, cold summer nights, we have cooler summer nights here, hot summer nights. So there's so many variables involved. And some people just go by zone and then they become disappointed, or they think that they're a poor gardener. That's what I want to have people avoid, is thinking that it's their fault. When some things fail because they based everything on just their gardening zone and not your local growing conditions. Okay? So let's get rolling and see the Rose Cottage garden on this first week of July. If you're new here, my name is Pam and I garden in Zone 8B in the mountains of Northern California, which has an effect on what I can grow, how long my growing season is, and some problems it can cause me. So if I can grow a beautiful garden, so can you. Good morning, flower friends. We are, once again, doing the Rose Cottage garden tour. Now right here you can see my trumpet vine. This thing I started from seed, and I have in a container so that it doesn't run. We all know how trumpet vines can become quite the bully and aggressive in the garden. And I have been training it as a tree. You can see that there. Now, there are some vines coming from the base, which I will cut out, and then it puts all the focus on this. Now, this is the biggest hummingbird magnet you can imagine, and keeping it within a container keeps it easier to control. So that is just coming along gorgeously. This is the first week of July, so this is such an exciting time in the garden. Look at this hollyhock. Now this is a volunteer that I let come up beside this barrel that holds my Tess, or one of my Tess de Uberville David Austin rose. Now this was not purchased as a climber, but here they always throw out long canes, so I train it as a climber. And yeah, it's just gorgeous. The twin is on the opposite side of this sidewalk. So I have been working out here. So you will see things in the path, laying around, etc. I work as I can, when I can, and I just enjoy, but it's still beautiful. I focus on the flowers that are blooming, all their beautiful attributes, instead of the messes I need to clean up. So let's start going down by the outside, the roadside. I live on a corner, so here's one road of the neighborhood, and you can see the beautiful view this way. Look at this rose. This is one of my Bosco Bell David Austin roses. Doing just beautiful. Look, the daisies are beginning. They're very tall, these daisies. This is one of my crazy daisies, and they have all these extra petals. I'll show you one in the very back. that is very roughly, and it just self-seeded. This is one of my self-seeded plants. I have lots of self-seeders in my garden. I love them. Black-eyed Susan is this one will probably open up in the next few days fully. Another self-seeded daisy. There's that Jupiter Spirit. It's nonstop. And I will prune it back. I'll share with you later where I'm going to prune it back for various reasons. But look at this delphinium. That gorgeous. The blue one has finished. It never got as large as this one. So there it is down there. You can see right there's the leaves. But it was a pretty blue. And here's still some more iris that I need to remove. That's why I haven't deadheaded them yet. That gives me the signal that these are some to be removed. These are repeats. They have in various areas, and then that makes room for new colors. I do have some new ones coming. Now this crazy daisy, it is a form of Shasta daisy, but it is super ruffly, and it'll be gorgeous when it's open. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Now these are asters. This is a very vigorous aster. It's a fuchsia pink. It'll be a while before it blooms. And I did put a coreopsis down there, and it's just getting going. So hopefully that will, I just plugged it in there because I had it in a container and I didn't know where to put it. So I just poked it in the ground. Now down here is my nearly wild rose. It usually gets much taller, but I had to give it a hard prune. And so it's coming back. But I love, this is one tough rose. So it's, yeah, here's it throwing up a cane there. Now, I did not anticipate this yarrow getting this tall, but there it is. It's a pretty pink. It looks like it's leaning, so I will have to get in there and prop it up. I have an issue with things leaning in this bed because of the tall trees behind me providing shade during certain times, and so they reach for the sun. Look at this. These spiky leaves are my crocosmia. I think it's Lucifer. But look, here it's getting ready to bloom. These also I will need to get in here and support. See, that one's leaning forward already. I have a video on my wire supports, and I just need to make some more for all my plants that want to reach for the sun. Look at this beautiful daisy. Look at those long, narrow petals. Isn't that beautiful? I did deadhead most of the peony. I see I missed one there. But you see how when it's not blooming, it's so surrounded with other flowers getting ready to bloom and or blooming that you don't miss the peonies. Now that is another delphinium there. That one is more of a light blue, and it's still pretty. So here's Rose Campion. This is a free seeder, reseeder, self-seeder, whatever you want to call them. Now down here is one of my hydrangeas, my panicle hydrangeas, getting ready to bloom. This white yarrow, I think it's going to be white, I may remove so that it doesn't, crowd out my panicle hydrangea there. I think that one is the pink one, and I'll have to remember the name in a minute. Sometimes I get out here amongst them and I totally forget. And my snowball viburnum is just really throwing up the tall limbs. That's going to be beautiful. I wanted it to provide like a backdrop from the garden to the street, so I'm not always in view of people going by on the road. And my pear tree that I thought was going to fall over, it may. Sometimes we get the heavy snows, and I thought for sure this was going to be toast. Volunteer poppies just blooming away. This is a very dry spot out here. There's no irrigation. More Rose Campion. These are feverfew. They come up everywhere. More volunteer hollyhocks that I just let do their thing along here. This whole area is like a wild garden on this section down here. No irrigation. This is by my lilacs. This raised bed, I haven't seeded it yet, but I did try to put these tomatoes in here. I don't know why that one looks so sad. They're just spares. So I just threw them in here, give them a chance to go and do. Now down here, I'm trying to be quiet because I don't know if people are sleeping still, but this is that crazy daisy that seated itself down here on the back hillside. And look at that. Look at how gorgeous that is. Yep, this is the back hillside where I put some roses that at the time I didn't have room for in my garden. Fully anticipated digging them up and putting them back up in the garden, and they rooted so deeply that there was not a chance of me digging them back up. But they do so beautifully back here. Now look at how full. This thing is loaded with 100+ buds. And when this is Scepter Dial, it's a David Austin rose. Smells gorgeous. It is a gorgeous rose. And yeah, maybe next week, because look, there's a bud. So I guess I consider this part of my Rose Cottage garden because it's got some roses. I may put like in one of my icebergs back here. I have a spare. But anyways, so I've been trying to think of what I wanted to do back here. And what should I call it? Should I call it my alley garden? Back alley garden? Because this is really the alley behind my house. And this is the hillside. And up there, just for reference, is my secret cottage garden. And this is my studio cottage, Primrose Cottage. And all these raised beds, I'm thinking I'm going to give them away to someone who needs them. Because I don't have space for them anymore. The place I had them now has the bespoke greenhouse on it, and I'm doing something different. So let's walk back up to the Rose Alley. The parts with the arbors and the roses climbing over it is Rose Alley. That is a fire ring that I offered to my sister and her husband to take home. I think she said she wanted it. So that's why it's sitting there. Look at this rose, this thing. This is the one I got on the bargain rack at Lowe's, and then found a second one this year. And this is why I absolutely love it. This is what it looks like almost all summer long. Okay, now we're at the entrance to the Rose Alley, and we'll see the roses that are blooming. I have been deadheading. Tess here. Tess d'Iberville. This is Madame Alfred Carrière. So it's not blooming right now. It's got new growth coming on it. Now this is a vintage rose. So sometimes vintage roses struggle with powdery mildew. I'll just come out and spray it with my rosemary spray. And it does seem to help it. This is my Dreamweaver. And look at that. This thing does bloom like this all summer long, and it's why it's one of my favorites. It's a short climber. If I get it to the eave up there, I will be pleased, but I'm not going to hold my breath. So yeah, I need to prune out some of these feverfew because my one rose in there, it's a David Austin rose, and it's escaping me at the Abraham Darby. My Abraham Darby rose is in there. So yeah, lots coming up. My Biocavo hardy geranium, I deadheaded it, so hopefully it'll rebloom. My Nepeta is getting ready to need to be deadheaded too for a rebloom. I have been coming in and taking out half of them, deadheading half of the plant, and then it'll reflush while still having some of the pretty lavender. These two phlox I put in here for color right now. That back there is my Limelight Prime hydrangea, panicle hydrangea, and it seems to be doing very well. So that's a plus. I'm not sure which Veronica this is, but it's starting to put on white plumes, which will be perfect foil against the lavender of that. And then these Black-Eyed Susans are volunteers. So down here is Awakening Rose, and it's been deadheaded. It should put on some more blooms. Many roses will bloom in flushes, not just be continual, and others will constantly have blooms on them. So I plant different varieties. Look at, here's my wedding candles. Yeah, wedding candles for Bascom. And look at Mr. B having a good old time. They are, I would say, a pollinator magnet. And these are the same variety that is in the front garden, and yet these ones are not as bulky, so they're not taking up as much space. I wonder if they will next year. I'm not certain. So yeah, I'll continue down one side. I have a habit of going back and forth and etc., and I don't need to. Now here's a rose I tucked in here, and I can't remember which one it was, so I'll have to wait. Sometimes when it looks like it's struggling in a pot, if I have roses in a pot, I'll just hurry and get them in the ground so that they will survive if I think I'm losing them, and I don't always have a lot of time to think about where. Now down here, forgive the pipe here. This is where I was putting some extra irrigation in that I want to come out over to the pathway, so it will encourage the micro clover to fill in. I want this pathway to be a path of green. Getting a little traffic this morning. I had swatting mosquitoes out here. Anyways, so down there is my creeping Corsican mint, and that I just love. And if you pinch it, it smells so pretty. I'm going to put some of it along here so I can step on it when I walk, and you'll get that scent. Now here is a snapdragon that has just knocked my socks off this year. I have loved this thing. I don't remember putting it here, or maybe kind of, sort of, but it was one of those things I just popped in the ground because I needed to, and it has just been blooming and blooming and blooming since spring. And it doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon. And when it goes to seed, I'm just going to spread the seeds in here and see what it will do. Here's one of my other crazy daisies. You see how they're all so different? Some are super frilly, and this one, because the petals get narrower near the center. And that's just such a neat petal structure. Look I have a Warsaw Nike. It's the same one that it will come up to. Clematis growing back there on that row, on the trellis with the Zephyrin Druin rose. Isn't that gorgeous? So beautiful. And I also have another rose with it. I think this is the same rose that's over by Rose Cottage that I don't know the name of, but I put it here on the same trellis as Zephyrin, because when Zephyrin is between blooms, this one is blooming. So it just looks like it has continual blooms. And here's a delphinium I really need to get propped up. So I did prune back the Patricia geranium. It was just crowding out everything, and it needed to be deadheaded. And this, I think, is a Perovskia, Russian sage, but I don't remember putting one here, and it's getting very tall. But look at this. Look at this plant. I do not remember buying this. It looks like, it is another verbascum, but it's yellow. So I don't know if this was a seed from my white wedding, my candles, wedding candles verbascum, and that it suddenly, if I'm jiggling, sorry, I'm trying to swat a mosquito that's trying to land on me. If it was one of this, a different seed was in the same packet is what I'm trying to say. So, but it's still pretty. And look at that, the center, how it's got some pink. So it does go well here. Down here, this is the rose they're replacing. This was supposed to be Super Dorothy, which is supposed to be a much darker pink and has much fuller petals. So I don't know what this one is, but it's pretty, so I'm letting it grow up here. The company did send me a new one. They are sending me. It's in transit now, but so we'll get that going. My Crown Princess Margareta rose is just still going strong. This one has started blooming. Now this spot gets good morning sun, and this one is well established, so it's probably why it started blooming much sooner than many others. And it's just beautiful here, and it's such a pretty color with this clematis. Now let me get back so I can show you this clematis without tripping. But look how gorgeous. This is Warsaw Nike Clematis. This has been here probably 10 years or more. This was from one of those little packages from Home Depot, whatever, of clematis, and it loved it right here. This is my Grandpanute Rose, and I call it that because we got it from my grandparents' home when we had to sell their house. And I wanted this rose because they both absolutely loved it. And I have no idea what variety it is, but it just blooms like this. And it holds the flowers for a long time. This is a very old rose. Now, I have tried to start this from cuttings. It seems to be one of the tough ones, but I will keep on trying. I accidentally cut my clematis there. I don't know how I did that, but yeah, I'll have to take out the dead. So down here, I put my Safari Rose. That was in a pot, and I put one of the irises here that was from the front and was struggling. And this is the Queen of Sweden David Austin Rose, and I deadheaded it. And it should be putting on new blooms or new growth to support new blooms. So there we go. That foxglove's almost done. This is monkshood. Very, very poisonous plant, but it's beautiful. And yeah, it's related to delphiniums. So let's go back up this side of the Rose Cottage garden. You can see my arbor bench still there, which I didn't think about to put it here. My husband did when we moved it, and I'm finding I love it there. I didn't think I would, but so this is my only Sunblaze Rose, which I am on the hunt for more. Now I know the Greenery Nursery in Turlock carried a few of these, and I may need to go down there to get more. I did try to find some at Green Acres Nursery, but they only had one, and it wasn't the color I wanted. So I'm looking for the dragon fruit one. It's a deep fuchsia pink. So I did put a new hardy geranium down here, and it doesn't look like it's liking it. So I'm going to have to, hopefully I don't lose it completely, but it looks like I might. But look at theirs. These are Sweet Williams, doing beautiful. This Albertine Rambler Rose has been such a delight. It has been blooming. Now it's a one-time bloomer, but it blooms for a few weeks. And it is so hale and hardy that it just has covered this in one season. This, I planted it last year, and it's done well. It came through all the late freezes beautifully. It didn't have any harm from that. So it's just one tough rose, and that's why I love it. And by the time it's done blooming, other things will be blooming, so it's not a big deal that it won't continue through the summer for me. Larkspur, this is self-seeded, and then the penstemon. This is the native penstemon here, just beautiful. It is flopping back there. I should have supported it better, or supported it at all. Now I wanted to show you, this is another California native, usually on the coast, but this is Wayne Roderick Origeron. Look at those beautiful lavender flowers, and it will bloom all summer. The dianthus, they do well for me. They live over, these ones do, and come back every year. So, just gorgeous. Look at this feverfew. It's got the double flowers. I love that. I'm climbing up here so we can get a really good look at that love song rose. And look at all the buds around it. It's behind the foxglove when we go up the path, so that's why I wanted to get a close-up here. So, let me see, there is another rose down there, but it looks like it's struggling. I may have to dig it up. That is one of my vintage roses down there. I think it's Rain's Day Violets. And it shouldn't be struggling like that. So, the gophers, it's funny, they pick and choose which roses to bother in my garden. I have many now in cages. Look down there. You see the cage? You see the metal cage around that? And that was because I never knew what they were going to eat, and I didn't want to lose my roses. Now here's my Eden rose, which this was supposed to be. And this was another mistake by the rose place. This was supposed to be pretty in pink Eden, and it's a much darker fuchsia pink than this. But I love this, and it's doing so well here. I don't mind. Look at this fresh new cane, which I need to tie up to the arbor. But here, look at this. This is Charlie Brown clematis. Oh, neighbor's starting his truck. Let me pause here until he's done. Well, I don't know how long he's going to take to leave, so I'll just keep going and don't mind that engine noise behind. Now this foxglove is nearing the end of its bloom season, and I'm letting it go to seed because I loved this creamy color. It wasn't pure white. It's not yellow, but it is very pretty. And behind it is another crazy daisy. And down in here is baby blanket right there. And then I have another rose that I forgot what it was. And it's right there. And look, it's got the pretty little pink buds on it. So that's looking pretty. My cat's pajamas, Nepeta there. I was trying to put it on both sides of the path. So I'm going to look up the path. You see there's some of the irises I was telling you about that I have in the path. So along here is the path. And this is, see this green, this is the micro clover that I want to fill in and create a green, like lawn-like path, but it's very drought tolerant. So it won't have to be always watered once it's well established. And that's why earlier I showed you the little sprinkler that's going to come out here and help it to get really going well. And yeah, so here's the irises that I have been pulling out of this area over here to make room for other things because they were repeats. And yeah, I wanted to fill in with other later blooming items. I'm not even sure what yet, but some of them will be roses because this is the Rose Cottage garden. Look at this. This is Jubilee Celebration. Now this is one of, or my favorite, David Austin rose. And that is because it blooms like this all summer long. It does throw out long canes, so I need to support it, which I need to bring in a support for it. I'm having to redo this part. This clip was damaged. Anyways, my Jubilee Celebration rose, look at it, it's still doing gorgeous. And it will do this all summer long if I keep it well watered. Not overly watered. You know, once the roses are established, they are not the water hogs everyone believed them to be. But if you keep it watered just the right amount and deadheaded, this will continue to bloom and be beautiful. So there is a Veronica. Now this one does get powdery mildew. I'm going to test out my spray this year, the rosemary spray, to see how well it controls it. I just need to be consistent with it. Here, this one is Bushy Boy. This is also a Veronica. I got this at Annie's Annuals. And it's supposed to be a very good performer all summer long, and we'll see. I really like how it's really filled out this year. And right here, I wanted to show you, this is Quicksilver. I have been amazed with Quicksilver. This is an Arbor rose by Cortez. There's several names. There's a Jasmina, the Florentina, the Kiss Me Kate. Yeah, so this is full of buds, and look at that color, that lavender color. Now I have an idea. You know, my Love Song rose, which is right back there. Sorry, the sun is blowing it out a little bit, but it's a beautiful lavender too. And I'm thinking of maybe putting it over here somewhere so it can really play off of the Quicksilver. Now, I have noticed that Love Song is a little more tender in the cold. And next to it, which is not performing very well since I moved it in there, is Plum Perfect, which that is a gorgeous color. So I'm thinking I need to do something different with it because I don't want to lose it. And it is gorgeous. Oh, look at here. I didn't even realize that I have a Rose Campion coming up in here. These are always such glowing, bright flowers. So these are the roses here. Now, this is Gertrude Jekyll, And I'm hoping it put on a huge flush of blooms early on, and now I see some more blooms coming, but I'm anxious to see how well it does against other roses as far as the bloom frequency in summer. But yeah, just gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous. I'm loving it. Look at these, all of these buds coming on for the Quicksilver. Yeah, beautiful from all angles. Now it's a deeper, richer color when the sun isn't shining, blowing it out for the camera, but in person it is just absolutely stunning. And look, here is my apple blossom. Let me see if I can get down here so you can see it. This is a ground cover rose that I put in. I don't know if that's in a cage, but look at that dirt around it. It might be a gopher starting to get into it. So I know I probably already did this in the video, but look, I'm just loving my Bosco Bell. It's just doing so gorgeous. Love that thing. And another free-seeded, self-seeded daisy there. Now this is down here, my Princess Kate clematis growing up here. I'm just gonna have to give up, guys. I am so sorry about all the racket this morning. But yeah, that is my Rose Cottage garden. And I'm not sure what they're bringing. Let me see, let me get nosy. Is it a load of rock? It might be a load of rock, it looks like. So that, my friends, is the Rose Cottage garden this first week of July. And I'm stubborn enough to just go past the noise. I'll see you next time. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video. I'm thinking maybe I'm going to try to do it at a little bit later hour. I will be fighting shadows, but sometimes the colors seem to come through clearer. There's two hummingbirds keep going back and forth again. Anyways, and I'm just going to try that. I'm enjoying this journal very much as far as doing this weekly. I mentioned that before, but so much changes, and you can really see the changes. I can see what will bloom together, and it seems like from season to season, like I've got a delphinium, the lavender one, that is blooming much sooner than the one that is probably 6 feet away from it, that is just now getting its blooms. So even in the same area, the same type flower can bloom at a different time, because I'm thinking the one lower down gets a little more shade for a little longer, and therefore it slows it down. That's all I can imagine for the difference between them. So anyways, I will see you in my next video. I'm going to catch up on the deck garden. It's almost completed. I'm also going to do the roses of Flower Patch. There was another one I was going to do. Oh yes, my pruning roses and all of that. I've got a spiel on pruning and care for roses that I implement, and it's really simple, and it kind of dispels, there's a lot of myths or traditions with pruning and growing roses that were really meant for show roses and not just for your garden roses. So that's coming up too. I'm trying to keep these all straight. Alrighty then, I will see you in my next video.